How are agilists faring in the pandemic? How are we finding meaning and purpose in these troubled times? How can we connect, inspire, and support each other? We will explore answers to these questions and more. This is Agile Caravanserai. I'm Sanjeev Augustine. So after a series of Agile Caravanserai conversations with several authors of the Agile Manifesto, it's now time for something completely different. So what we'll be doing is pivoting to conversations with senior leaders, both in industry and in the Agile community over the next few episodes. Let's start with Michael Carrel. So Michael Carrel is the Senior Vice President and Chief Technology Officer for Marketing and Enterprise Growth Solutions at Nationwide Insurance. I've been very privileged to have known Michael for the last 14 years. We first met in 2007 when we partnered with Michael and his amazing team of senior leaders on a very successful pilot Agile transformation that included people like Tom Pater, Charlie Kennedy, Kevin Fisher, and Leah Wells. The work we did on that early pilot transformation was so successful that it became part of the baseline for what became known as the Application Development Center and grew out into an infrastructure of Agile projects all across Nationwide Insurance. It was driven by a visionary CIO whose name was Srini Kaushik and became the foundation for all the Agile projects at Nationwide Insurance today. Our corporate world has always been rife with egotistic and authoritarian leaders who do untold damage to their corporations and to their people with their command and control leadership style. Michael and his peers at Nationwide Insurance have always marched to the beat of a different drummer. Along with his other executive peers, Michael models a refreshing and uplifting brand of humble servant leadership. His style is both quiet and commanding at the same time. Michael's proteges have, as a result, become world-leading agilists in their own right. On the personal front, Michael is a distance runner and a very early riser. And that determination and discipline show up at work in interesting ways. He applies that on Agile projects. And these Agile projects have ranged from really small custom software development projects for his teams, as well as operations and maintenance projects, enterprise applications. And most recently, Michael very successfully rolled out a package software implementation, a really large-scale one that is, of the HR package Workday. Today, as Nationwide moves into the future and faces a turbulent world with the pandemic, Michael is right there at the helm. Michael Carrel.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Sanjeev. Good to see you again.
Likewise, we've known each other for a long time and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. You know, we just passed the 20th anniversary of the signing of the Agile Manifesto, February 11th, and there was a lot of celebration and all that. And it's amazing how much the Agile movement has changed the world and brought people and communities and business in particular together over these last 20 years. And you've been at the forefront of some of that work at Nationwide Insurance. So the first question for you is, given that I guess we started, you started about 14 years or so ago with Agile, maybe even earlier than that. What are some of your reflections on that journey that you've been on for the last decade and a half?
Yeah, so first I can't even believe 14 years because it seems like just yesterday. But yeah, so it's obviously not new. And, I'm thankful to work with the Nationwide technology. We've been fully Agile for many years. But started was I actually had one of the first few teams with the Nationwide technology that had moved to Agile 14 years ago, mainly just in response to business needs around speed and being able to respond quickly to customer needs, test and learn your way into new capabilities, specifically focusing on digital experiences back then. The one thing I would tell you, if you think about reflections on the Agile movement is, Agile is a household name within Nationwide that reflects much more beyond technology. Everyone knew years ago, oh yes, those folks in technology are doing this thing called Agile, and product owners that engage with technology, we're familiar with it. But now, working in an Agile way has spread across the entire organization. So and the whole concept of lean and Agile is just commonplace. So having customers and working with customers to be able to kind of go through more and agile, even in our planning, not just in software delivery, but extending that outside with how we actually plan, for technology changes, not just execute on them within an agile line. It's really transformed how we work, you can go across different areas within the company, and they're using visual management systems, right, to manage their work, not just technologists. And in fact, we've helped several customers manage their work using agile principles that we have within technology. When I think about the manifesto and I think responding to change, right, over following a plan, who would have thought with the pandemic? I mean, we've had to respond to change almost like daily. And we've seen years of change occur in months with this pandemic. And quite frankly, like the fact that we're fully agile actually helped us respond to that change. And if anyone that's even listening thinks that change is slowing down, it's just accelerating. And so to me, it's a competitive advantage for companies. I mean, speed is the new currency. And so for our ability to move fast, and then also customer collaboration, making sure that we learn what customers need and want through test and learn, experimentation, move quickly to meet those market demands, not think that you know everything, out of the gate. It's more important than ever. It has been, and that's accelerating. And so our ability to respond to change, meet our customers, where they are, when now they want their digital interactions, especially with insurance, occurring in ways that no one would have thought about, 5 years ago. We believe that operating in an agile fashion across all of Nationwide is going to help us compete with the speed that we need to meet our customers' demands. Because with insurance, their experiences aren't dictated by other folks in our industry. It's the experience they have when they go to purchase something on Amazon, or interactions that they have on Google, right, and other technology and other digital interactions. That defines the experience they want with insurance.
Yeah. Thanks, Michael. I did have a question, actually, maybe a comment as well. I know, we worked with, and your colleague, Tom Pater, our friend, I think he was telling me that when Nationwide made the switch over to virtual, it took like 12 days or something, which just seems like lightning fast. An entire company your size. Any thoughts about that? I mean, how you were able to make that transition so quickly?
Yeah, one of the things that we work in digital has always been important to how we even work with our associates. And I think investments that we made in technology platforms, at Nationwide, really allowed us to pivot quickly to work from home. That was because the fact that, both through positions that we have today on some of our cloud technology, the fact that we already run a lot of our digital technologies, on hardware and solutions that can be easily accessed from home, our ability to manage calls virtually directly to an associate's home through our contact center technology. It really wasn't, technology wasn't the biggest hurdle to working from home. In fact, a lot of it, there was some work, but a lot of it's just, people's mental shifts around now, how do I manage it when I not have a child at home? Or, your local network connections, that with your local network provider, our core technology stack. Well, there are some things that we certainly had to look at capacity in a couple of areas, and even how do you, things where we typically had, all associate meetings, right? Making sure we have the right bandwidth to kind of do those, every single person in our company now connecting in a different way. There were some learnings and adjustments, but they were like tweaks along the way. We didn't have big issues with moving our associates, from home, pretty seamless. And in fact, maybe some worried a little bit too easy, just be worried about, okay, this seemed awful easy. Are we sure it's all working as designed? So we actually had surveys, digital surveys that we sent to associates, and we staggered. In fact, technology associates were the first ones to move before we even required all associates, because we knew it was coming. Right. So we were started to test our way into it even earlier with kind of having required work from home days for technology associates before we moved all associates to work from home, over a year ago, actually, when it was that January, February timeframe. We already even though we didn't move associates to March, we started preparing and making sure we had everything in place before that.
That's wonderful. So, which leads me to my second question, because you're talking about working from home and all that. It's certainly been tough for everybody. So how are you doing in the pandemic?
Oh, well, so thank you for asking. I'm a people person, so I'll have to admit that, I miss people. My kids are big into sports. So, I miss the soccer games in the spring of last year. I miss the track events and even the holidays with families. I mean, a lot of things just, really disconnected you, right, purposely from a lot of friends and family. And I get tons of energy from people. So I'll be honest, it's been difficult. One of the things that I've had to do for myself during that time frame is be able to find ways of reflection of things that you're thankful for. Sometimes you focus so much on the things that went away, you can sometimes forget the things that are right in front of you. And so I spend a lot of time focusing and being grateful for the things that I have, and then focusing on even spending and checking in with people. And I get a lot of energy actually just from the cold calls to folks around, hey, how are you doing? I think it brightens their day, and then also brightens mine. I read an article recently. They talked about this pandemic wall, and the analogy was as a runner, and I'm a runner, so I related to the article. For runners, if you run a marathon, everyone knows that around mile 20, is usually typically most runners will hit a wall at mile 20. Your body usually stores so many calories that it can expend, and usually around mile 20 is when what your body can hold typically kind of expends, and then it starts to then look for other muscle and other areas where it starts to then try to kind of add to your energy levels, and so it becomes more difficult. And so they talk about the fact that in runners you kind of have to get past that wall, and many people even today are reaching that pandemic wall just at kind of meetings at the end of kind of their frustration level. And I know as a runner, I run the nationwide children's marathon every year. And at every mile, when that race, you wind up giving a high five to a child that is struggling with something, right? A disease that they have. And I told someone recently, this whole thing about gratitude. When I'm at mile 20 and I'm running the race, there's nothing better to kind of help you, because sometimes that's mind over body at that point. I remember thinking to myself, there's nothing, the pain that you might be feeling at mile 21, 23, 25, 26, that could pale in comparison to what that child that has cancer must be feeling. And so that type of, I related to that article really well, because just being able to step back and be able to reflect and be thankful for what I do have, and not all the things that seem to go away, has been helpful to me. So.
Thank you. I'll definitely have to check that article out. So that gives us a good segue into my third and final question, which is, given that you have many associates and fans and community, not just at Nationwide Insurance, but you and others at Nationwide are known as leading agilists in the community. So folks around the world, especially in the DevOps community, because you guys have done some amazing work there. What hope or inspiration, what words of hope and inspiration would you have for the many fans of Nationwide out there in the world?
I'll tell you, the first thing is they embrace distributed Agile. I think one thing we know is that, that will be more common, especially when you think about teams that will be more distributed, because everyone's going to, the office model we had before isn't going to be the same. And so really leaning into more distributed Agile, virtual VMSs, right? A lot of things that maybe felt comfortable in a physical environment where people we're together, just embrace that much more than I think we ever had in the past. And I think it's remained flexible. And remember, you're coming, for those of you that are Agile evangelists, you should know that you have an advantage. I think kind of this post-pandemic era where it's change. I think those that are in the Agile environment much more change ready. And I would just say remain flexible, right? Continue to explore new ways of living into those manifesto principles, because it's going to look a little different. And I would say make sure you focus on being adaptable, both as an individual and your teams. I know just thinking about individuals and interactions over processes and tools, right? We're pushing decision making lowest levels within the organization. And teams need to be comfortable with that. And we need to adapt ourselves to new technology, new processes, new ways of thinking, customer insights. Just focus on adaptability. Having an adaptable workforce is a key part of our technology strategy here at Nationwide. We have a focused effort on ensuring that our people are just as adaptable as our agile processes that we've put in place.
That's a great human-centric slant to it. I love it that you're saying embrace the future, and the future is digital, but be adaptable and make it people-centric as well. So thank you so much, Michael. Any closing words that you'd like to share with our fans out there?
No, I just think for those agile evangelists, like just continue to kind of learn and share knowledge so we can all get better together, especially in this post-pandemic world. And I just say, take care of yourself. In the fact that you asked a question you did about kind of how you're doing the pandemic, I tell people that are, my leaders within my organization is make sure you take care of yourself first and lead yourself really well. And that gives you the privilege and the right to lead others.
Thank you very much, Michael. As always, it's a pleasure. Really appreciate having you today.
Thanks, Sanjeev.